Hello everybody. I'm going to show you now something that is, it's interesting because it's hard to classify it as abandoned. It's more like something that is simply given up. Well, I guess that is abandoned. It's something that, you know, I think will stick around, but is in diminished appearance. Okay, this is basically an old style Japanese household. This is my, actually my family's household. They've been living on this plot of land for 400 years. Of course, not that same house. Now, what I want to show you is how at the entrance here, right over here, you can see, step out without getting run over. Can you see over here? There's a car coming. The entrance there are two columns there. Now these columns, you can see one, there's a pole blocking the one on the left. Let me step out a little bit. There we go. Those two columns right there. Those form the entranceway to the estate, so to speak. Let me step back out of the streets, a household. And the reason I'm standing back like this, I don't want to make anybody uncomfortable if I get in too close. This is the Inoue family. You can see they have their name posted there as well. And these types of columns are typical in this area of Japan, I don't know about elsewhere, as an old style way of basically signifying the entranceway to not just the household but to the entire compound. This is the house compound. They have the house here, the farm shed over there, and their lands are further back. Back in the day, this is all farmland everywhere and just little trails walking around. That road wasn't even there. This one was here. The one down here where this stoplight is, that's the old Tokaido Highway. So it's been there forever and ever. So there you go. There's an old style house with the gates there. I'm going to show you another one here. Now back in the day, I'm talking about before the war, my wife's family, the Inoues, worked for this family here. Now look at the size of this big house here. Look at, they own this whole block. You see how this wall extends all the way up here? They owned a huge tracts of land. I mean, after the war, all the land was divided up and given, parceled out to the farmers in kind of an equality act. These people were like the lord. They weren't samurai. The samurai for this area, he had his house further up there. I'm talking back in the real old times, back in the Edo period, there was a samurai house, basically where I live. It's very close to where the samurai is, and his ghost still haunts up there. He actually, the ghost of that samurai has made appearances in my direct in-laws house, which is up around the corner here. This is the village of Yada, and a long time ago there were lots of, well, there were just a few houses, maybe a dozen houses, this whole road and fields everywhere. Anyway, this is one of the big farmhouses here, big estate that they've got. I mean, you can often tell the big estates by the trees and the like. And if we go around here, you'll see the same type of entranceway that my in-laws have. Here, they even have a kura in the back. Now, they weren't super wealthy. It's not a really nice kura, but it's nice enough. See how these, I don't want to make these posts here. And then over here. This is very typical for the entryway for homes like this. Just walk on past. Now, come with me, as long as we're on it. Let's go take a look at another old house. So, I see these entryways on older estates and very few modern homes. Now, there's no modern homes right around here. Well, there's a kind of a modern one right there. Showa period, no Taisho period. Oh, here's another one. See back here? There's an older old house. See the columns right in front of the entranceway? There's another roughly contemporary with this house, about the same period, probably built in the last part of the Showa period, maybe the 70s, 60s or 70s, something like that. So a good 40 or 50 years. It's probably got, underneath that wall, it's probably got mud and bamboo walls under there. This is a newer house, small plot of land, no beams there. This one has none either. This house here has none. Now this is actually, these two houses here were once part of the same farm. So this is the newer house over here. The older house over here, which has had kind of a facelift on it, and it doesn't look the same, but it's an old design underneath there. Now, as soon as it goes away, I'll show you. This is the newer house here, and the newer house has none of the beams at the entrance there. But the older house over here does. Not beams, these concrete, you know, things. What do you call them? Columns. There, you can see the columns right there. There's one there next to the mailbox, mail slot, another one there. So back in the day, this was a big estate, similar to what my in-laws have up there. And then they had this farm area over here, and they built a house there, but they didn't use the columns because they were just basically not done in contemporary houses. Now I have another two old houses here, and you can see here's another one. Here's the two columns right there. Let's take a walk up the street a little bit. This is the old Tokaido Highway now, the most famous road in Japan, indeed. Here we go. Now look at this. Wow. And often you see these ornamental pines. Let's take a look from the other side. Here are the columns. Beautiful home, eh? And here are the look at these ornamental pines. This is a very common sight on older homes. The homes that will have these kind of columns will also typically have these ornamental pines, carefully tended over decades and decades. And they usually, the way it works is they try to get them to extend the pine over the entryway. See how it extends over there? And you kind of get a feel for the age and the longevity of the household by how big the pine is. Here's this house's pine. Look at this. This is that same big house that used to be the big boss in this area. Not the samurai, just the big farm boss. And farmers were pretty important people back in the day. Look at the how it extends over there. Now it makes me wonder if once the entryway was here, because usually it extends over the doorway part. And here, now it makes me think, so here's kind of the columns. This is a newer kind of a style though, isn't it? But it has the same two columns. I'll bet you back in the day, the entranceway was right there, and that this pine surrounded it. Nice old place. Here's another nice old place. Here, this one is kind of a middle in terms of age. It has the columns, see? But definitely newer. This is it has typically just a gate. Now I wonder if there's an entrance in the back that might have the columns. They're lovely. See the pine again at the top, extending over. Kind of a sign of status. Here we have more. A little tiny street down there, a little tiny house down there I love so much. Here's another old house. And again, the columns. Now if you go to any any newer neighborhood, I love this. Speaking of abandoned, this is an abandoned room up there. This house isn't empty, but these shutters are never open. This is an abandoned building as well. I sometimes see people activity there, but not much. If you go to a newer house in Japan, you won't. Look at the daikon hanging off the. Isn't that cool? I made a video about that for the Nuts About Japan channel. Here's another one of those pines. The newer houses won't typically have any of this, but I'm not going to find any newer houses on an old street like this. There you go. Well, maybe if I go down, well, no, I think you get the point. Well, there you go. That's an element of Japanese culture that is fading. Maybe not abandoned, not disappeared completely, but certainly fading in terms of the fact that new homes, the owners of new homes, the builders of new homes are choosing not to incorporate the columns into their places. The strangest one I've ever seen, or maybe not strange isn't the right word, most interesting was one that appeared to have been an old Shinto shrine that, and it's again along the old Tokaido Highway farther down the road. An old Shinto, I'll leave you, stop here with Daruma-san at the entrance of a Zen Buddhist temple. This is my family's temple. You can see up here, here's the temple gate. The priest is a very nice guy. And here's Daruma-san, the founder of Zen Buddhism. And this house had been a former Shinto shrine. I don't know how that happened. I think they moved the shrine perhaps, but they left the big wooden torii gates. And of course they didn't want to have a torii gates at the entrance of the house. That'd be weird. So they cut the gates, so they just had the columns, basically acting as those columns for the entrance to the place. This was done in relatively contemporary. It was probably 40 years ago. So they must have known about that. But this tradition, they cut it and incorporated that tradition into it with these giant beams. It must have been a formidable shrine indeed. That's probably the most unique, interesting example of that type of thing that I've seen. But there you go. Okay, well, I'll leave you now with a close-up of Mr. Daruma-san, who never seems to smile. Well, he does smile sometimes, but he's a pretty serious guy. He's got the enlightenment of all of us in his mind. Take care, everybody. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Hey everybody, I thought I'd turn the camera on one more time to show you one more thing. I'm in a little street here. This is another old section of town, not the same area. I've walked onto a new area. And I want to see there's these big estates right here. I mean, they're not huge, but this is pretty big by Japanese standards to have this whole walled-in area all the way to there. There's another big one back there. This one's immense. Look at this. It extends here, this fenced area. But anyway, what I want to show you is over here is the former entrance to what was once one of these big estates. It's behind a little Shinto shrine. It's now a parking lot with several apartment buildings here. Just apartment here. Now, how do I know that there was once an estate here? How do I possibly know? Look at that. Look at the big lantern back there. You see it peeking up in the big tree. You know, all evidence of the past here. Isn't it curious with the water bottles there? So how do I know? Well, you know, it's just a parking lot. How do I know that there was once an estate here, probably occupying all this land here from this area back? Here are the columns, right? The entrance, former entranceway to an estate that was once here. Think about all those other places we just saw, and the columns that are at the beginning there. And you can see here, you know, the little bits of here's some metal here sticking out, right? So possibly a gate. Here's where the hinges went on, right? Indeed. More over here. And we're right behind a little shrine here. This is a shrine, I believe, to an old well or something like that. And, you know, more metal bits there. See that? Probably they would have had the name of the owner here somewhere hanging on. There you go. So, a bit of the past that's still around, but fading and coming into disuse, and with the little telltale signs remain, even though there was once a big picture of the big estate that used to be here, right back there where those cars are in that apartment. An old house, an old wooden house with a big veranda, you know, a engawa around the edge, a beautiful genkan at the entrance, a farmyard where the farmer would have taken care of all of the elements of the farm land that they brought in, you know, taking care of the rice straw, you know, peeling vegetables and the like, setting things out to dry like the daikon we saw earlier. All of that gone now. That farm is all gone. A parking lot remains. Some ancestors or the legacy, some family somewhere around here is enjoying the legacy of revenue from the parking lot. And all that may remain of that actual former household is these two columns that tell the story of who once lived here. Take care, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.